Hey, welcome back to Moving Forward. This is Don Green, and I'm going to let my colleagues introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Lainey Eisen. I'm the producer for this podcast, and yeah.
Hello, my name is Koyan Smith, and I am a theater student at Gordon State.
Hey, Koyan, why are you joining us today?
I was invited by Lainey.
Oh, okay. That's a good reason. In addition, Koyan's going to be helping us as we interview Jef Holbrook. Jef is an actor, podcaster, and YouTube guy in Atlanta. Jef is mostly known for his work on TV. Oh, some of you might be asking yourself, is he related to actor Jef Holbrook? Maybe. They have met several times. So why are we interviewing Jef Holbrook? Because we have had plenty of listeners who said they would love to have us interview people about various careers. And we thought we would start with Jef. Jef, we're so glad to have you here. And
well, we'll see. Okay,
that's the way this interview is going to go.
At the
yeah,
end.
all right. That's good. Koyan, I believe you are the lead interviewer, so you want to jump in?
Yes, sir. All right, my first question is, what's your favorite part about working in the industry?
When I get to act. Producing is great, but producing is a lot more paperwork and a lot more things to manage, and you're really hurting cats, with all of that. But yeah, whenever I get to go pretend to be somebody else, that's pretty great. And then the second good part are the checks that roll in after. Residuals are nice. We like those. But really, yeah, getting to do the actual acting part. Because what's especially amazing is if you ever get a chance to rehearse, because you don't, right? When you do film and TV, you don't get a chance to rehearse traditionally. Right. But I just did Saturday Night with Jason Reitman. And since that was shot on film on Super 16, and since it was constant moving one shots, I actually did get to rehearse, which is so rare. So you got to be, on set in the actual environment you're going to be in, and we actually got to have a day to rehearse it, and so that was really nice, because usually you're just dropped on set and you're like, okay, figure it out. Which, since I love to improvise, which I think is the other thing that I love about acting, that kind of works, because you drop in set and you figure it out, and so improv instincts help. But boy, having a day of rehearsal's nice.
Hey, plug opportunities. So
yes. Oh, what are you plugging? What are you
Saturday
plugging?
Night?
You have a book?
Yeah, exactly. You want to plug it?
Sure,
Saturday
yeah.
night?
Saturday Night, now playing in theaters from Columbia Sony Pictures, directed by Jason Reitman. He's the Ghostbusters guy, and his dad was also the Ghostbusters guy, and I'm in it for a scene. Yeah, and it's funny, and it's fast, and it's I think underseen right now. More people need to see it, especially theater people. It is the 90 minutes before the first episode of Saturday Night Live, and it happens in real time, and it never stops, and it's really good. And it's one of the few movies I've done where the finished movie, and the script are very close to each other. That normally, a lot of things usually change in the edit, but this one, they were just very close, which is cool. So yeah,
I will say
good.
I did watch it the other day, and I was thoroughly fangirling the entire time, because I love everything behind the scenes on set and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was literally just so fascinating to watch all of the moving parts. And then, spoiler, I guess, at the end everyone comes together and pushes through. And
the show happened. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So something you would love too is the way you see, how they go down the hall, and there's constant room to room moving. A lot of times in movies and stuff, you build those out in their separate pieces, and there could be, a whole sound stage between one room and the other. No, they built the whole floor of Studio 8H. I got to go to, I didn't get to go up to the studio, but we were at 30 Rock just on another trip before, just to go. And then when you go into the movie and you see it, you're like, okay, you can see some of the stuff that they actually shot at 30 Rock, but everything that is, once you're on 8H in 1975, that is as you see it, is continuously built. So there's the main couple of hallways. They were all labeled like streets. And then the dressing rooms were right off the hallways. Like every my editing bay, everything was real. Everything was real. And since they use so much of that soundstage at Trilith, cast and crew, rather than being in trailers, we were in this thing called a cast camp, which is like everyone had a room.
I heard about that.
Yeah, we all. I'll show you. I'll show you pictures now that I'm out of NDAs. I'll show you pictures of my room and stuff. And our rooms were all decorated with this period appropriate posters from 1975 of shows that were coming out at the time and stuff like that. And so, but what was weird is you would do that, and then so that means that if you're not called, you might be in your room in cast camp. But if you're filming that day and you're going to be popping in and out of scenes or whatever, everyone is just hanging out backstage together like you would in a green room, like you're doing a play. And so everyone from cast, crew, extras, everyone, because those extras worked for a month, right? Because they all had to have very specific things. It's unusual.
Yeah.
And you're just so immersed in it. But when you get in there and everyone's talking to people. I'm talking to Philip Seymour Hoffman's kid. I'm talking to the guy who plays Spielberg, Gabe. Gabe's really nice. The guy who plays Lauren, he's really nice. I'm glad he's doing really well. He deserves to do really well. But you're all just there. And it was the most like theater feeling like ever. So I don't know that I actually answered your question.
You did.
Acting is fun to do, and I recommend it.
Well, you said that, and if you don't mind, this is moving forward. We're talking about careers.
Yeah.
You've talked about scripts, film, casts, all these other terminology.
Yeah.
But if somebody's just like, wow, I want to get into that, what would you suggest? Where do you go? What do you do?
You got to get near it. Or you've got to get near people that are also trying to get near it as soon as you can. So everyone talks about student films, right? Or a lot of people do. I think that's great. Student films, whatever age you are, if you're getting in with a group of student filmmakers, a lot of times they're going to be younger and you don't know where they're going to go, right? A lot of times they'll be making it in conjunction with a school, but sometimes it'll just be young people who are just trying to make a movie or whatever. And you start to figure out, okay, who's kind of got their act together and who doesn't. You should do them all anyway, because it's just, you get good stories out of it. And if you happen to land on a really bad student film set, you get something that my wife and I like to call shared positive trauma, where you both went through something really wild together and you got through on the other side, and you say, oh, remember when we did this thing? Oh, yeah. Hey, by the way, I'm doing this other thing. Are you interested? Are you available? Are you whatever? And you just do that for the rest of your life. But you've got to follow your passions. You got to get a little obsessive about it. Find out who's doing stuff in your area, because that's where you are. If there's nothing happening in your area, you should consider going to another area or making your own stuff, right? But that requires money, so it's usually easier to find out what's going on in your area. If there's no film happening, then find theater. If there's no theater happening, find music. But really, theater is the next best thing if you can, because there's a lot of overlap there in craft. There's a lot of overlap there in interest. And then there's a lot of overlap there in thinking, because you have a bunch of people who are together to do something and make something that's a little bigger than them, that are there to tell a story and to do it together for like no money, but they're there because they really want to, they believe in it a lot of times. And those are great people to be around. And you want to continue being around each other, and that's how you build your group, and that's how you build your tribe. And that's why, like, a lot of times theater majors or whatever, they'll go on and they'll have kind of lifelong friendships out of, sub members and stuff like that, just because, I guess like any other major, but just because there's a lot of shared positive trauma when you're putting on a show every couple months.
Can confirm.
Yeah. And then just like research anywhere you can find, TikTok or back in the day it was, mailing address, emails and forums and, anywhere. But you have to, no one's going to hand it to you. You've got to look for it. And you can't just read about it. You got to go do it and find people who are doing it. And then after that, it's following your instincts and trying to keep doing it. If your goal is, I just need to keep doing it, you'll figure out what the details are.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. This is a good gig for you. You're like, yeah.
So, if you had to explain the importance of what you do and what people like you do to somebody, how would you do that?
Empathy. Look, there are things that exist in the world, institutions that exist, where it's like, I should be good to you because if I'm good to you and I treat you well, when I die, I'm going to get a cookie. Or I shouldn't be terrible to you because if I'm terrible to you and I treat you poorly, when I die, I'm going to get punished. Okay? But there's something about the arts and the humanities, right? Overall, where we're here and we're going to make this story together that reveals something about our humanity, and we're going to share it with a bunch of strangers. And at the end, we probably will have lost money. We'll have given our time. It's not going to go global. But maybe we've done something for someone in the audience. Maybe it's they go home and for the first time they talk to their kid about, hey, is there more to you that I don't know about? And we've never had that conversation. I saw the play and I was thinking, or even like dealing with something different, like a parent dying, the play or whatever, the movie, whatever it was, either I got to practice how I might feel in that situation as an audience member, or I got a chance to grieve that as an audience member through watching that happen to someone else. Or even, sorry, these are real upbeat topics, but the world. But maybe even like if you're having a rough time, sometimes even just silly distraction with watching a couple of characters, and there's not a lot of meaning otherwise, right? But you're watching a couple of characters do something really ridiculous, just keeps you afloat for another day, right? The point is you don't know what the little thing you're making, the ripples that it can have. So if there is importance to be had, I think fostering connection and communication might be it. Tony, you sound like you have something.
Sure. No, I love what you're saying because for me, theater has always had this power to allow you're sitting there in that dark room, and this is an opportunity for you to see through the eyes of another person in the story that's getting played out in front of you. And not only that, and we have this in film too, that we're in community in the audience. So having that collective experience is a powerful thing too. Yeah. So I love that.
Yeah. You can all go like talk about it in the lobby at intermission, especially intermission. A lot of times there's big cliffhangers about something. And it's like, how did you feel about, how often do you go up to someone else and you're like, how did you feel about this thing that we all just saw together? Yeah. And what's great about that level of drama and danger or whatever is that just happened in the room and it's not going to go hurt anybody. But you can go talk about it together immediately, right? You can do that with movies too. So anyway, that I don't know if that answers your question, but that's where my head is at.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes I walk out of a movie with a whole nother personality.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you absorb it. The last thing, and then we can leave this is there is a what you have to do to survive in the arts is often very different than what the arts are. Okay, to survive in the arts, for me to survive as an actor, right? Like I sent you your producer a ton of links before we got here. Like I have a website, I'm everywhere, I have all this stuff because it's like blah, 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 me, because that's what I have to do to like advertise to get jobs, right? That's all the kind of stuff that I have to do is be very like outward facing and very like, it looks like it's me. But the truth is what I'm actually trying to do in the actual art, this is all the advertising stuff so that you can do the actual art, which isn't about you. Acting specifically, especially, is not about you. It is about the audience, the story, and if you can't get there, bare minimum, it is about the other person in the scene with you. Right?
Right.
That's why I think improvisers make better actors. The most important person on stage is your scene partner, not you. Now, if you take that and you extract that into the rest of your life, my spouse is the most important person in the room of life for me, right? She's my scene partner, right? So the things that I do are to support her and to, We like to say make her look good, right? When you're on stage, improvising, you want to make the other guy look really good, the other person look really good, right? Arts are not about you.
So you,
but to survive, you have to.
yeah. You've unpacked so many things, and one of the things we talk about in here is how careers affect lifestyle, how lifestyle may affect or be totally destroyed by career as well. So you talked about crass commercialism required to create that existential piece, right?
Yeah.
And the two of those clash. I mean, we see that on People magazine covers all day long, right?
Sure.
So when you're working, do you run into these people who struggle a little bit with leaving the stage behind as they go into their normal life?
Oh, okay. You didn't go the direction I thought you would go. That's good. Hang on. I want to answer that.
Okay.
But quick
But
side
answer the question you thought I was going to ask, because that's more important.
Okay. Anecdote. My wife was on set yesterday she's been on set 2 days this week for 2 different commercials, but what can I say? One of them, let's just say it was for like a pizza or chicken or something, selling food, right? Let's just say it's for that. It doesn't matter. All the other actors are just like, you do commercials because they pay well, right? And the same way that a lot of times you'll do certain shows if you're to keep your theater open so that you can pay for the show that you really think people need to see, right? You play the hits, kid, right? You play the hits so that people will, maybe a tenth of those people will come see something that's maybe really important to them and they don't know they need it yet. But you don't want to confuse the things where if you're on set and you're doing the commercial and you're selling chicken, and there was one actor on this set that was like, I'm the most important person ever. Behold, as I sell you this chicken. It's like, you're still selling chicken. Do you get it? Like, you're applying all your craft. I went to Juilliard. Watch me dip this zesty sauce, right? You have to have some context and awareness of that. Whereas if you're like, but that pays so that you can afford to take no work for months so that you can audition to get in the little indie movie that's got a big heart and has something to say and you hope gets seen by people. That's kind of where I thought we were going. Leaving behind performance related things in life. Now that feels like a misstep to me. So I think I don't understand what you're asking, because my thought is, if you go into, like, you're going to apply for a job at like a bookstore or something, you want someone who can talk to the customer, who can engage them, who can be, who is well read, who has knowledge, who can be kind of empathetic to what they're looking for, and help them find it. Same thing if anyway. So where are you going with this, so that I can?
Well, I think you've gotten there.
Okay.
Because part of it was really, there's you, and then there's the onstage persona. And
sure. The trappings.
And if you get
your
lost
representative,
in
I call that person.
Yeah, and if you get lost in being the Juilliard graduate that is the best at dipping zesty sauce,
right?
Maybe you're losing a piece of your humanity.
Yeah, because you lose perspective. You lose who you are. I mean, that's why you've got to stay grounded. You've got to stay grounded. Acting, especially, is supposed to be about the truth, right? It's supposed to be about seeking the truth. And so if you stay honest and grounded and have some, I think maybe don't take your career too seriously. It's a lot easier to take the blows when you don't get work and that kind of stuff. I am also fascinated by the idea of meeting someone versus meeting someone's representative. I usually feel very aware when I'm sort of in the room with someone's avatar of themselves. And I think there's increased pressure to do that now. I think social media has sort of, that's such a quick hack to say, but in some ways I think social media has felt like, we have to present certain versions of ourselves, which sucks, because I think good social media in a way is also just being like a little more authentic about who you are. Anyway, diatribe over. But I feel like it's a line that maybe you have to walk a lot as well, because you have a public life.
Yeah.
And I think maybe what you're trying to bring into the show is humanity. And I think the world overall would benefit a lot more from understanding that all of our professionals are people. And maybe that would save some rage yelling at people online, but I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm sure with acting, it's a pretty competitive career, and it can take a mental toll on you.
That's weird. Actually, only one person does it. That's it. There's one other. It's me and one other guy. And when he's sick, I get to do the chicken commercials, which is pretty nice.
You guys are really good because I thought there were a bunch of you.
Oh no, that's wardrobe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Makeup.
Oh yeah.
But what are some things that you do to stay mentally sane, and what's some advice you would give to younger actors just starting off that may not be getting roles and are dealing with a lot of rejection within their first year?
Yeah. There is a period of time where chemically in your brain, everything feels so important, right? Everything feels so important. And then that's appropriate, especially when you're super young. Yeah, everything is important because up to that certain point, that's as far as you've gotten. So the level of experiences you've had, no matter how deep or great they are, no matter how much, heartache or heights, you've soared to, that's the well you've got to draw from. If we're lucky, life is long. And the more you can just take it all a little less seriously, as far as if you don't get a job, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. If you don't get a role, it's not often about you. There are areas that are in your control, right? You need to show up. You need to take the work seriously. You need to prepare, You need to be on time. You need to know the script. In the union, you don't have to memorize the script for auditions anymore, which is good because they come very fast. You need to respond to your agent very fast when you get one. You can't sit there and not be looking for roles or work and also be sad and wondering why you're not getting roles and work, right? If someone does offer you an audition and you kind of halfway do it, you can't be surprised if you don't get it, right? The stuff that's in your control, you need to handle your shit, number one. Lock that down, right? And then all that other stuff that's just out of your control, the sooner you can come to peace with, hey, that's not about me, and you can let that go so you can move on and find the next thing, the better it will serve you. Also, have hobbies. Have things that you like that you're not trying to monetize. You're going to have lots of talents. People are very complicated, right? You can be a president with a podcast. People are very complicated, right? And while you see you as a whole person, a casting director just sees a role they need to fill. And they know you're a whole person. And some of them are super nice, and they wish that they could give everyone a job, and they just can't. They just can't. That's the other thing, too, for you to realize is the casting director is a person, too. They're just trying to fill a job. They're trying to get paid. They're trying to pay their families. They're trying to do their thing, too. And the more empathy that you sort of have in that circle, the faster you can just let stuff go and go, hey, my entire self-worth is not built on this thing. Are you going to have projects that you really wanted, that you knew you were good for and you didn't get? Yeah. Okay, yeah. Sometimes it kind of helps if you have a friend that did get that project, because you can kind of celebrate them. Again, your partner, right? Your community is your partner. Your other actors, they're not your competition, right? I know that technically they are, but boy, that's a poisonous way to live. Yeah, so it's just don't, you just got to find ways to just move to the next thing.
So Jeff, you just, as far as I'm concerned, you just nailed it. And the wisdom was not acting wisdom. It was kind of career to life wisdom. Do the work, pay attention to the details. Don't start thinking that the job is your identity. Be a human. Those are all just
and
great wisdom for everybody. Yeah.
What's the quote? Ron Anderson, who founded the Springer Theater Academy.
Yeah, many.
The work hard and treat people with kindness. Or
Yeah. Do your work well and treat people nicely.
Yeah.
Part of the larger idea of life skills through stage skills, which I really believe in. The arts and humanities are so important. They're so important. And they're not important because of self-importance. They're important because they build communities that, quite frankly, that know how to fight. When you're in a relationship with somebody, you got to learn how to fight and not destroy the relationship, right?
Right.
The humanities, we teach each other how to care for each other, how to be empathetic for each other, and when we disagree, well, here's how we fight without just walking away and letting it all just go. We need each other. We need each other, and I think the humanities teaches us that, especially theater and stuff, in a very, very powerful way.
Do you have any final thoughts on anything?
I will have a final thought probably right before I die, and I will be sure to text it to you.
Well, I hope you do.
Through some sort of
Just timing
holography
can be
device.
off too. So.
I'm always worried that it's going to be something really awful, why is this? Oh, there it goes, and the lights out. All right.
So, one final thought. We got to give Jef a little bit of love, and there's a narrative that's going on around the theater here at Gordon State.
What did I do?
It has to do with something called The Tempest. You might have heard of it. It's this guy William Shakespeare.
Go on.
And so the story goes that this guy Jef Holbrook
wait.
came
There
in.
could be so many. I'm so worried.
No,
There are T-shirts that could be printed that should not be printed.
This is a good one. So really, this is about all of us kind of giving you some love and some appreciation and respect, because I hear that you came in and put a production on steroids, basically, that you did some amazing things just with your creativity, your abilities with film and shot. And I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you to just reflect a minute, because that was one of those things that you were talking about earlier when you said about giving back to others. And it was just something that you gave us. And we just, here, riff on it.
Sure. Well, so, like that noise. So Lisa Chesnick Ferguson, it has been in me and my wife's life for a long time. And it's very near and dear to us. And, we've done Shakespeare together, and we've done lots of things together. I used to run her theater academy in Athens, and we have a long history. My wife and I both have done a lot of things with Lisa. And so when Lisa needed us to step in, because she had some illness, it was like immediately like, absolutely. And the initial plan was that Sarah and I both were just going to step in, because that's my wife, we do things as a team just kind of all the time, because it's great. She's my favorite collaborator. She's the best person to work with. And she has an ability to inspire something in people, especially she's got like a physical theater degree. She went to clown school and circus school in California and all this kind of stuff. She's very physically specific and trained in comedy and trained in all that kind of stuff. And I know that we needed that for this show out of the performers, because I knew Tony was going to deliver something amazing set-wise, but the physicality of the performers, Shakespeare is very athletic, right? Shakespeare is also very specific. Shakespeare also creates a language barrier, and sometimes the language barrier is really solved by clear physicality. And so she came in, and whenever she could, she kind of took them to boot camp in a way. And, I would say it was probably not always super fun physically, but that's part of actor training, actor as athlete. And so she was able to really bring that specificity out in their bodies and in their voice. And I sort of, she and I both talked about it, and I sort of, at some point she says, well, I'm not able to stay in the process because of other life demands. So you've just got to, whatever you're going to do with it, go for it. And I said, okay, well, this is kind of my vision for it. She's like, go for it, and I'll just come in and support as I can. And we made something that was inspired by video games because we thought that was accessible and fun and something I'm genuinely interested in. And it's such a joy to work with that cast. It was a very, very talented cast. And to watch them blossom in Shakespeare and in performance. And it was just so much fun. And the rehearsal process was a little wild and a little unhinged sometimes, just because I wanted to get them out of their heads as fast as we could, because the language is a barrier to a performer. The strict movements we're implying on them is a barrier as a performer. Explaining that we're going to have this awesome set that's going to be on multiple levels. So sometimes you're up on the third, that's spatial geometry, that you're putting all that in to a young performer's head. And for anybody, that's like, okay, there's a lot. There's a language I'm not familiar with yet. I'm also learning acting. I'm also trying to understand spatial relations by tape, and I knew that once we had the set, the spatial relations things will take care of itself, right? If I could keep them focused on their intentions and their movements and their relations to each other, the language was kind of going to take care of itself. If there's anything we didn't know, we're going to say, hey, do we know what we're saying here? And just to push them and to work them as hard as we could so that they would quit thinking about a lot of other things. There's an old joke that, sometimes if you need an actor to remember the lines, you give them a prop. Or something. Oh, I'm thinking about the prop. And suddenly all the words just come. It's like, what? Okay. You knew them. I knew that these kids knew what to do, and they kind of needed an excuse to quit worrying about how good they were doing.
I will say, as a little 18-year-old doing my first ever Shakespeare play and working with SL, and I will say the Circle of Man exercise will stay in my brain for the rest of my life.
It's hard.
But that entire show, the experience has stayed with me, and I really learned a lot, and I continue to learn a lot from that. So I am very grateful for that experience.
Well, it's captured in glorious 4K, multi-angle, multi-sound source thing, and it looks pretty cool. I'm looking forward to turning it over to you guys. I hope you upload it to your YouTube or something, but
Most definitely.
I'm looking forward to y'all seeing it. It's cool. It's very cool.
Well, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I was glad to be here.
Yeah, and thank you for your work on The Tempest, and you're always welcome.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. Oh, I feel like we gotta like someone's gotta take us home. Ooh, Tony, do you want to take us home?
All right, Jeff, this has been a great conversation.
This has been The Drive with Tony. All right. Coming up next on KCRW, we have
Weather
Take
and
it away.
traffic,
Weather, yeah.
right? Gotta have that too.
Jeff, where can listeners find you?
I guess go to my website. I spell my name stupid. It's jefholbrook.com, but there's just one F. The second F is on layaway. JEFHOLBROOK.com. Or just Google me. I'm very Googleable. I've done a lot of audiobooks, so if you're doing a lot of car drives, I've got like 300-something audiobooks you could listen to. YouTube. I'm out there. I don't know. I'm out there. That's enough. I'm out there.
And listeners are constantly asking us about other different career paths. One of them obviously was actor. But
that's an 8-legged actor, I think. The actor. To be or not
so, if you have ideas about what you might want to hear about, we can go find experts and bring them in.
Or you can find me.
All right. If you have any questions about the podcast, we do have an email, movingforwardpodcast@gordonstate.edu. If I'm not mistaken, if I am mistaken, this will be re-edited over in
And subscribe
post.
to the Patreon for their after show.
Absolutely. All right. Bye.